Welcome to Moline Method Mic'd, our podcast. I'm Kelly Moline, functional medicine consultant, licensed pharmacist, wife, and new mom.
And I am Landon Moline, husband to Kelly Moline and father of little baby Danielle.
Yeah. So we had a fun week. Well, I actually worked a little bit more at the pharmacy this week. So you were more on daddy duty.
I was. We got to spend some good quality time, although it's the time's a little bit inhibited because she's teething and she's a little fussy.
Yeah, I typically work 1 day a week at the pharmacy, but I worked Saturday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Saturday she started teething. And so I called you at work I was at work. I called you to tell you where everything was.
Yeah, no, I mean, and she had been like a little bit fussy. It was just, I didn't feel like it was in full swing until like Monday, Tuesday. It really kind of hit, and she was, just doing things with her mouth, and you could see she was irritated, and she'd make more like moans or like little frustrating whines, and you just felt bad because you're just like,
Yeah, you can tell her mouth is sore.
Yeah.
Oh, poor baby. But we're getting through it. Nothing has peaked yet, came through the surface yet. But we're probably getting there and kind of getting ready for that eating journey. So that makes sense.
Yeah. No, when we have like little fun tools and stuff not really fun tools, but we have little things to kind of ease her pain. We got this little popsicle thing where we can make popsicles out of breast milk and give her those, and she really seems to like those because they kind of numb her mouth since they're cold. And then we got a couple of like little teething toys, so those seem to be doing the trick.
And we're using Teeth Tamer by Earthly, not sponsored, but I think that's working. And you had a good idea of putting some of the Teeth Tamer into the popsicle molds with the breast milk, and we should start doing that too.
Yeah. Nope. Yeah. But it was still a good week, and we got through it.
Yeah. Your brother came to town?
Yes, he did. He came to visit, so he got to see the baby again. And it didn't really dawn on me. So when she doesn't see someone as much, it takes a little bit of time to warm up to them. And being dog owners, I feel like you constantly want to socialize your dog so they can play with other dogs and other people, and they're not a nuisance, or they don't react strangely to other people. And so when Danielle was taking time to warm up to Reese, I was like, I kind of felt bad, but apparently it's actually a good thing.
Yeah, it's, I think, a little bit of a milestone itself, kind of getting that separation anxiety, but it means that they're secure with their parents or their inner circles, because she's with your mom a lot too. But so whenever she now gets held by someone new, that bottom lip comes out, and you can just tell she's about to start crying, and then I'm like, I'm here, it's okay, or you or whatever. But she's starting to get more of that little bit of separation, but it's always just the first hold, and then she comes to me or you, she settles down fine, and then she's like good to be held by someone new after that.
Yeah, I mean, she just kind of looks for you and or me or my mom, the three people she's like really used to being held by a lot, and she just kind of it helps just to being in the room with her too, because she kind of looks over like, okay, this new person, what should I do? But it's kind of interesting that's actually a good thing, showing that she's secure with us, and we're kind of like a safe space for her. And so because we want that to be, we always want to be a safe space for her all throughout her years.
And it goes in phases. Like, we'll be her security, and that will last long term, but being able to come back to us or look at us and know that we're still there, I think will help her as she ages to venture out and have that confidence, but can always look back at us too.
Exactly.
Good, secure attachment. And so she just had her half birthday yesterday. So she's officially 6 months now. So took her to a 6-month appointment, which was all fun. Everything looks great. She's gaining weight on her own curve. I shared this on Facebook, but she's in the 50 to 75 percentile for height. And that's not even on the adjusted charts. So she was a preemie, came 5 weeks early, but that's not even with that considering. So she might be tall. And then her weight, she's always been in that like 5 to 10 percentile on her weight, but on the normal charts. And I think I may have mentioned this too, but her chiropractor told me don't worry about the weight percentiles, especially since she's exclusively breastfed, because a lot of the times those percentiles are more based on formula babies, according to my chiropractor. And formula babies tend to weigh a little bit more. So since she's breastfed, she might be a little bit lighter. So don't worry about it. They're all on their own curve. So I think that helps, especially with moms with a little bit of anxiety that their babies may not be gaining weight as much as they should. Especially breastfeeding, you can't really tell how much they're getting. So you're just hoping it's enough.
Mm-hmm.
So we're just going based off of she seems happy, healthy, and pediatrician isn't worried or anything. So yeah.
Yep, she's getting old. She can practically drive. I mean,
she's going to college already. Yeah. It feels like time has flown by, and it's a little bit emotional of a milestone, 6 months. So much changes at 6 months. Now she can eat solids, or we're going to introduce solids really soon, today or this weekend. And yeah, and then 6 months from now, she'll be a toddler, which is insane.
Yeah, that's weird.
But yeah, thinking about the 6 months and how far we've come, it's crazy to think just a few months ago we were in the NICU. And so we wanted to share more about our NICU experience, but especially God's presence through our pregnancy and our NICU experience and how he's been showing up for us. And although this podcast is typically about functional medicine and natural healing, our faith really is the foundation for it all. And it's why health and peace and trusting our body and God himself is why it's so important to us.
Yeah. I mean, when you think about it, it makes sense that faith goes alongside functional medicine, because I mean, functional medicine is trying to get your body to work the way it should, the way it was created to work. And God wonderfully made our bodies to be able to fight diseases and all that. And so when you think about it, I mean, we're just trying to make sure there's nothing that's getting in the way of our bodies functioning the way they were wonderfully created to function. So I think
exactly
it goes hand in hand. Mm-hmm.
Yes. So yeah, we'll just jump right into it. I've shared this story a few times with some close friends and family, but I wanted to share with more people. So I think that's why it all happens, just to give God his glory and be able to share it. So in 2023, we had our first pregnancy, and it ended up being a miscarriage. It was considered a missed miscarriage. So by the time we had our first ultrasound at about 9 weeks, the baby had no heartbeat. So that was really hard. It seemed to have just happened a few days before our appointment, according to how it was measuring. But it felt very surreal, and, we're doing all of the healthy things. And so, yeah, then we continued trying, which is always a little weird to say, but anyway, so we continued trying, and that trying to conceive battle is really a battle in itself. It feels like it takes forever. You always expect it to go really quick, and that journey can be really, really hard for a lot of people. And through our miscarriage and the hurt with that. We're sad, we're hurt, we're angry, and asking God, why this happened. But I think God can take all that, right? He can take all of those emotions and handle them, and he grieves with us. And throughout this, I think we leaned more on each other and more on God.
Yeah, I think it brought us closer together because we really had to communicate a lot on what we were feeling, what we were going through, and we learned to be like patient with each other as we went through it together. Because loss is not like a easy thing to deal with, and I think it's easy to ask the question why, like why us, and why would this happen? But ultimately, we put our trust and faith in God that He has a perfect plan, and we found peace in that. And yeah, I think it ultimately prepared us to be better parents in the end. And and so yeah, it's all part of the journey that we were on.
Yeah. Felt like every month we were trying something new when trying to conceive of like, this is going to be the month. But all in all, I ended up putting on our letterboard in our kitchen, in his will is our peace. So just knowing that God has a plan and he'll make it happen, whatever that looks like. And we don't have the ultimate control, but God does. So we just had to play the waiting game. Throughout that process, I really wanted to grow in my faith and my knowledge, because I didn't have a ton of knowledge. I've never read the Bible before that. And so, or I've read bits and pieces, but I never went through the whole Bible. So I wanted to find a reading plan that I was able to understand and continue on. So last year, 2024, I was looking, for that January start plan kind of thing, through the Bible in a year. That felt doable. I tried and failed a few reading plans that just didn't fit well with me, but landed on the Bible recap. And so I really enjoyed that reading plan. It reads a segment of the Bible in chronological order, but then also is a video that recaps what you read so you can understand it better. And then, so in about February is when I landed on that and did the year plan. And I know it wasn't January, but better late than never. So yeah, I started doing that. And then in June, we became pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
So we were overjoyed, and I told myself if and when we became pregnant, I really wanted to be joyful about it and excited about it, and I didn't want our last pregnancy to hinder that excitement and being nervous and anxious because it was something that I couldn't control of what happened. So I really wanted to enjoy that time. That's what I told myself when we were trying. If I become pregnant again, I want to really live it out to its fullest and be excited. In our first pregnancy, we didn't want to really tell people until, that end of first trimester, which is what a lot of people want to do because, you have the most risk in the first trimester of a miscarriage or something happening. And then you have to share all the bad news if something happens. But we didn't get a chance to share a lot in our first trimester last year.
We had just shared it with close family and friends.
Yeah.
Like the weekend before we had the miscarriage.
Well, and I didn't even get to share with my family, I guess is what I'm getting at.
We just started to. Yeah.
We were going to share that weekend after the first ultrasound because we were flying up to Minnesota. So I wanted to, give them the present in person and surprise them. I got all these personalized gifts and I was going to put the ultrasound picture in there. And then we found out the bad news at our ultrasound. And then at that point, I only had bad news to share. So I feel like it was a lot of whiplash, one, for my family, because I called them and said, hey, I was pregnant and I had a miscarriage, and they didn't even know I was pregnant. So I felt kind of bad in a way that they didn't get to be excited and then help me through that. They just felt the grieving process. But the second go around, we told everyone that day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, there was still a lot of, I would say, cautious optimism. It was like we were trying to be happy, trying to be excited, but you do have that like thought in the back of your head, like, oh, well, we got this far last time, and so you're still kind of holding your breath, but like trying to be extremely excited as well, because it is a blessing and it's a gift from God. So yeah, it was, but you still felt that cautious optimism. You were like, well, okay, we're not out of the woods yet.
For sure.
I think that's natural.
Yes. And part of the reason why we wanted to tell people right away was we wanted them to pray for our baby right away too, and have that power of prayer.
Mm-hmm.
And so telling our family and friends right away, we were able to have that.
Yeah, we wanted that prayer to start immediately, and because it is, prayer is a powerful thing. We're going to talk a little bit about it today, but yeah, it's a huge foundation of our faith, and yeah, we wanted people to be included in that. But then yeah, it also is just, we're trusting God, and it helped us to just, I think, have some peace in the situation too. Because again, I think it too, for me, I didn't want you to be too stressed about it, because stress is also not good for pregnancy. So if you're stressing about having another miscarriage so much, I was like, I don't want that to cause another miscarriage. So in my head, I'm like, I want you to have as little stress as possible, to be at peace as much as possible, because I don't want that to hinder this pregnancy either.
Yeah.
So like that's kind of what was going through my head a lot. So try to remove any stressors as much as possible. But yeah.
I didn't know that. Yeah. And so we found out around 4 weeks pregnant, technically, and then a week or two. So yeah, we found out, and because I had a miscarriage in the past, my OB wanted to do some testing to make sure my progesterone levels were good and my HCG levels were rising as they should. I did that blood work at the doctor's office and everything looked great. And then I was on my way to my sister's bachelorette party, and so I was flying there, and at the party, and we were at the bar, I noticed some spotting. And that got me really nervous and kind of thinking, oh no, this is happening again. Even though I didn't bleed the first time it happened, it was a complete silent miscarriage. I was thinking, oh no, we're starting this process again, and this is what's happening. At the end of her bachelorette party, I kind of felt bad because that news was now circulating throughout the party, and my sister was stressed for me as well. And I'm like, I really don't know anything. So all I can do is call the doctor's office when I'm back in town on Monday, and we'll go from there, probably do some testing. And I contacted you. You said...
I said we'll have to wait and see, and just keep praying.
Yeah, you said that you looked it up and that can be normal too, the spotting. And I read my Bible recap, kept doing that to feel comfort in that rather than spiraling myself. And so then Monday, I called the doctor's office, left a voicemail, and then continued working. And then later that morning, I went to the bathroom, got up, and there was blood everywhere in the toilet. And I freaked out and flushed it right away because I didn't want to look at it, and started tearing up, went and got my phone, called the OB's office again, left another message crying, and told my manager. And so I went straight to the OB's office then to get some testing done to check my HCG levels again. And I called you. I honestly thought that was done, right? Like, I spotted, we're early, now I'm bleeding, there's no coming back from this. And you said, we're praying.
Mm-hmm.
And you were contacting family and friends to start praying for us as well.
Yep, we had a big foundation of prayers.
Yeah.
Prayers.
So did that. I stopped heavily bleeding by like early that afternoon, but just kind of spent the day in bed grieving. Didn't really know what was happening. That was Monday. And then by Thursday night, the doctor's office called me back with my results, saying that the HCG is rising, but just a little bit, not as much as they'd hoped. So we just had to go to the ultrasound at my 8 week appointment and see if we can see anything, see if there's a heartbeat there. And so that was 2.5 weeks away. And so we just were playing the waiting game again. And I really didn't want to be anxious for this first appointment, because that first appointment where you have to search for the heartbeat was so nerve-wracking, and we got such terrible news the first time. I didn't want to go into it nervous about it the second time, but here we were.
Yeah, no, it was, again, yeah, like you said, a lot of holding breath.
Yes.
Up until that point, but trying to be at peace and trust God's plan.
Yeah. So then all we could do was wait and pray, and I continued my Bible recap, as we're saying again. And it got me thinking, our due date according to my app was February 18th. Found out we were pregnant in June. So my due date was February 18th, and I was thinking, wow, I started the Bible recap in February. I'm going to be done around the time I'm supposed to be due. Like, that's cool. Let me look at in the app when I'm supposed to be done with the Bible recap to see if I'll be done by the time we may have a baby. And so I'm looking at it, and it was morning. And were you right there? I think you were right there.
I think so.
And so I was looking at that, and I saw on the app that the day I started, the day that I'd be done with the Bible recap, was February 18th. So our due date. So that, to me, through that anxious waiting period that I was trying to rely on my faith and grow my knowledge, especially with the Bible, I had that piece of, that's not a coincidence, right? And God is like holding my hand throughout this pregnancy and is going to see it out till the end. So that helped me really get through that first appointment. And then we had our first ultrasound, and everything looked great.
Mm-hmm. I definitely saw like a shift in like your attitude. You did seem just more like at peace with things. And so I do think that definitely helped. And yeah. But yeah, everything went well in the appointment, and it's really fun. Got to see the baby's heartbeat for the first time, and she said everything looked a-okay and just as it should. So It was really exciting.
We took a video of the heartbeat because that was the best sound in the whole world.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah. And I was praying, I think we all were praying just to relieve that anxiety, and I think only God can really do that. So everything looked great. We had a really healthy pregnancy. Everything looked so good. And I shared this in our birth story episode. Everything looked so good and low risk that we decided to try for a home birth. And then at 35 weeks and 2 days, my water broke. And so we had to change gears really fast. Did I miss anything?
No.
Okay. And then we had to change gears really fast and have a different birth experience, but the birth itself went really well, and she came a little bit early. Not anything too dramatic, as 37 weeks is technically full term. I mean, I think the goal is always to try to get to as close to 40 weeks as possible, but I didn't think it was going to be too bad. But then she had the low oxygen levels and low blood sugar, so she had to be transferred to the NICU. So my doula always comments how I was so like calm during that process. And yes, we had a plan that we talked about beforehand. Landon was going to go with the baby. The doula was going to stay with me. But I really felt like Landon and Jesus was going to stay with my baby, and everything was going to be okay. I kept going back to God said he's going to be with us through the end, and I'm going to see it through. So I just really had that confidence and had to really strongly rely on my faith in that moment too.
Yeah, no, I think you were a little in shock, but yeah, you weren't freaking out. You weren't, you just knew that, everything would be okay. And I could sense that. And And so, yeah, it was still nerve wracking going down to the NICU. Still was stressful, but um, yeah, I mean, for me too, I trusted that. I just didn't think that God would bring us to that point to just take it all away again. So there's a lot of, again, cautious optimism,
Mm-hmm.
trying to push out any doubt from your head, but still scary. But yeah.
Yeah. She had low oxygen levels, and one of the last things that develops in babies are the lungs. So that's pretty common. And so she had to have a procedure to get surfactant in her lungs to help her have higher oxygen levels and be able to breathe better. But we were expecting her to be in the NICU maybe 1 or 2 days at max at that point, but
Mm-hmm.
it kind of was going from bad to worse. So the doctors were asking me at that point, are you sure she's 35 weeks along? Are you sure? Are you sure of that due date? And I was pretty confused why they kept asking, like, maybe it's a few days off, but nothing too different. They're like, okay, okay, because she seems like she's acting more like a 28-week-old baby, not a 35-week-old baby. And that was pretty shocking to hear and a little scary to hear. So they were like, we need to figure out why she isn't breathing like she should. And she's having these apnea spells where she isn't breathing for a couple minutes at a time. And even when we're trying to touch her and stimulate her, she's not taking that breath. So, yeah. So then the tests started where they're starting to look at, does she have an infection? Does she have sepsis? Does she have meningitis? They did an ultrasound on her head to see if she's having seizures. So it's going test after test after test. And now she has jaundice too, which I know is pretty common, but now she has the blue light therapy, and then that's getting worse. Now she has to have double blue light therapy and we can't touch her anymore. So that was hard.
But like with every test, and like her poor little feet were like pricked to their purple.
Mm-hmm.
But with every test, it came back, and again, no answers. Like they just couldn't quite figure out what was going on. I remember like every test were like, okay, so what is it? And they're like, well, they just crossed off everything that it wasn't. Basically, they were like, okay, it's not this, it's not this, it's not this, it's not this.
Yeah. And they were trying to figure out, why this was happening so that they could fix it. But so we had to go home. We stayed in the hospital for 3 days or so after the birth.
Well, yeah, and it went from us thinking we're going to be in there for a couple days to, well, you'll probably be here for a couple weeks, a few weeks,
Yeah.
possibly longer.
Based on what the doctors were telling us, and they couldn't figure it out. So we
had to go home.
Yeah.
Sorry.
We were dismissed from the hospital. Dismissed? What's the word I'm looking for?
Checked out.
Yeah.
What do you call it?
We
There's
were
a name for it.
checked out of the hospital, but we were leaving without our baby, which was the hardest thing because everyone says as you're giving birth, well, you're going to leave here with the baby. You're going to leave here with the baby. You're going to meet your baby, and then you can leave the hospital with your baby. So that's always the exciting part when you're going through the whole birth process. And so we had to leave without her, which was hard. I was looking for Airbnbs in town because we were about 45 minutes. We're in Fort Worth. So we're about 45 minutes from our house. And there was winter weathery stuff since it was January. And so we didn't know if we could come back all the time, and you were busy with work, with meetings and stuff. So we wanted to be close. So I was looking for an Airbnb, found one like a block away from the hospital. And so I was trying to book that for that night so we didn't have to leave the area at all. And for whatever reason, my app just wasn't working. It said they had to verify my ID, which they couldn't do that night for whatever reason. So the nurses in the NICU said, go home, sleep in your own bed, do your laundry, and then you can come back tomorrow refreshed a little bit more. So that was really hard, but I think that was a really good path we had to take.
Yeah. I mean, I think it was for the best. And it was by design. I mean, I remember going home and there's just this sense of like defeat because you thought when you walk through that door of your house, you'd be bringing home your baby. So like, again, it just didn't feel right. And I definitely like didn't want to be home without her, especially when she's back in the NICU. So, but it was for the best. We got to sleep in our own beds, got a good night's sleep, and we did feel a lot better going back the next day.
Okay, so we're home and we got home, and which again you said was by design, and your mom was taking care of the dogs, and she comes downstairs and said that your cousin said God's gonna heal Danielle tonight. And we kind of laughed it off a little bit, like, oh, haha, that'd be cool. Hope he does, but not really holding our breath for it.
I think we're pretty tired and worn out, and we're just like, that would be awesome.
Yeah.
Like, I hope he does.
Yeah. But we've kind of had bad to worse news. We don't know what's going on, all of that. So throughout the night, I'm pumping and everything. I have a little camera of her face so I can like see her a little bit, but I call at the end of the night so I can get the report from the NICU nurse how her night went. And every night it seemed like we were getting the reports of, well, she is having these apnea spells. She's not breathing. It's not going very well. We don't know what's happening, kind of thing, which you're just always looking for that good report. And I understand that the nurses need to tell you not necessarily like all the goods, but like they're looking for those parts that they're note taking that is going wrong in a way. But that was the first night that the nurse told me she had a good night. I'm like, really? It was her first night with no apnea spells. And so that was great. And then she tells me, one thing that was weird that happened though was she must have yanked all of her cords out. All of her IVs were out, her feeding tube was out, and I'm thinking this 5-pound baby took all of her cords out in the middle of the night. So my heart just stopped hearing that, and I'm like, wait, did God just heal her? It felt like a sign of she doesn't need all these cords anymore. She's healed.
I mean, to take out every single one, yeah, and the nurse said is extremely odd. She hasn't seen it before, where every single one of her cords was off.
Yeah. So we're like, okay, great. They obviously had to put all the cords back in. But that just had me thinking, okay, let's see where we go from here. Later that day, we're go back to the NICU, of course. We got that Airbnb a block away from the hospital for the week, so we could be near her and see her as much as we can. And we got a call later that day from the doctor that the blood tests came back all negative. She doesn't have any infection. They're going to stop all the antibiotics. And so that was like the first good thing from the test that we heard. And he's like, yeah, she didn't have any apnea spells, so I think we're just going from there, and we'll monitor her and hope she keeps doing well. So from then on, that night on, she had no long apnea spells anymore. And so it was always in the back of our head of, did she really just get healed? But they had the CPAP machine. Since her oxygen was doing better, she got to switch to the oxygen cannula in the nose so that we could start feeding her with bottles or breastfeeding and learning that. And from then on, we just had to continue monitoring and learn the feeding, which had its own struggles. Breastfeeding did not just start happening for us. It took several days for us to master and for her to stay awake enough. And because she was a little early, she didn't have those cheek muscles to be able to feed very well at first. But yeah, so I felt like in the NICU still every day had its own challenges, but we kept praying, and I felt like every day a new prayer was answered, whether that was feeding, her oxygen levels, whatever.
Yeah. But I mean, from that point forward, from the night that we believe that God healed her and she didn't have any more apnea spells, our focus was then like, okay, so what do we got to do to get out of here? And so that's kind of, we asked the doctor, like, hey, and I mean, it's hard to convince doctors like, hey, God healed our baby, we're good, like, let us out of here. there's obviously liability issues, so they have to make sure that she passes their standard tests to be discharged. That's the word we were looking for
Discharged.
earlier. And so he's basically like, well, as long as she's like feeding for 24 hours and off like just the bottle or breastfeeding,
And not tube feeding.
and then as long as she's gaining weight, like she should be good to go. And so he was really accommodating with that, because she was still pretty light in her weight, but he was like, yeah, I think she'll do even better at home. So he was really helpful with that. And so yeah, that was kind of our focus from that point forward.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think the moment she gained a gram and we were feeding, he was like, I think you guys are good. And when we got home, she gained weight so much faster, which we were under a lot less stress at that point. And in the comfort of our own home, we were getting feeding down better, all of that.
Mm-hmm.
And throughout the process, when we were in the NICU, we're also sharing quite a bit on social media, what was going on. And again, the reason we were doing that is just to have people praying as much as we could, because we didn't really know what the answers were going to be. And obviously the doctors were looking for whatever was wrong, and we didn't get those answers, but that was okay with me because all we wanted was her to be better. And we feel like the power of prayer really helped throughout the whole experience.
100%.
And then after the fact, when we were home and I visited with your cousin who texted your mom saying, God's going to heal Danielle. And I thought it was interesting. She didn't say, like, I think God may heal Danielle tonight. It was God is going to heal Danielle tonight. And so I asked her about that moment and like, what made you send that text? And she said she was praying about it. It was on her mind a lot. And she had this overwhelming feeling that God was going to heal her. But she wanted to keep that to herself, because who just blatantly says it. And she felt like God was saying, do you not believe me? So I thought that was really cool. Sometimes I'm like, I don't even know how to tell when God is saying something to us. And so I think that's really cool that she felt that, and she felt it so strongly she could voice it. But sometimes I think that that's how he's getting through me or getting to us, is through other people, because he may try to talk to me, but how do I know if it's not like my own voice or whatever, right? We're always questioning it. So I think having someone else say it is maybe the better way to get to me at that moment.
Mm-hmm. No, exactly. And here we are with a healthy baby. But yeah, one of the verses, I was going to share a verse, like one of the verses that really helped me be at peace, like through that entire time, was like 1 Thessalonians 5:16-18. And it says, like, do not be anxious with anything, but in every situation, by prayer and supplication, with thanksgiving, let your requests be known to God. And the peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus. And I think that verse, it brought me a lot of peace to the situation. It helped me get through. It was a tough time, but like it helped me trust and try not to be anxious and be thankful for the blessing that God had given us. Because, we've been on the other side of it, with the miscarriage, and, we've dealt with that before. And we could have very well been in that situation again. And like you said before, it's easy to ask the question, why me? Why would this happen? I think people struggle with it a lot too, with their faith. Like, why, if God is real, like, why would he allow bad things to happen? And it's a direct result of sin. Like, when sin entered the earth, so did death. That was a consequence of sin. And, so the earth was cursed with that. And so, any kind of healing that, God gifts us with is really like a testimony of God's grace and his mercy. And so, like, death is a part of life, and it does happen, and we're just thankful to be on this side of it, this time. And, but that doesn't happen for everybody. And so, yeah, I think that really helped me through that hard time, and hopefully that can help other people too. But
Yeah.
yeah.
And to kind of go like sin in the world, because bad things happen to good people too. Obviously, good people are still sinners, but I think that's always a hard thing of like, that doesn't seem fair. They're such good people. Not saying like we're the best people either, but just not saying we're bad people. Okay.
But no, you look at Job in the Bible. It's a
Yeah.
great example. Like a righteous man and a good man, and bad things still happen to him. Like we don't know why. We might be put through tests and trials, and why bad things may happen to us, but like ultimately God's in control. He does have a plan. And so we just have to trust in him and be thankful and praise him through good times and bad times. So that's kind of what that verse says. So
Yeah. So that is a glimpse into our story and how God carried us and met us and carried us through that time, through pregnancy and the NICU. And here we are now, 6 months in and trying to figure it out.
still
And
trying to survive.
still trying to survive, learning from others, not experts at all, figuring it out one step at a time. But we find ways to laugh throughout the day, every day. So with that, Landon, do you have a dad joke for us?
Oh, okay. Yeah, I did bring one to the table today. Are you ready for it?
I am so ready.
Dad joke of the day. Here it is. Why do fathers take an extra pair of socks when they go golfing?
Ooh, you are golfing a lot. Let me see. You get really sweaty. But that's not a joke.
In case they get a hole in one.
Okay. I like it.
It's a good one.
It is a good one. How many holes in one do you get, Landon?
Okay, we don't have to talk about my
Yeah.
lack of skill in the game of golf.
That's why you're not bringing any extra socks, huh?
No extra socks for me. Never.
Okay, tell them where you can find us.
All right. Well, thank you for listening, first of all. But yeah, like, subscribe, share with your friends. So you can find us on Instagram at Moline Method, and that's where you can send in your questions for the podcast. We didn't do any Q&A today, but we will be doing them in the future. Then also visit our website, molinemethod.com. But yeah, don't forget to share it, get the word out there, and give us a good review if your podcast platform allows that.
Yeah, that's how people find us, or share with others that you think it may be helpful for. I know we talk a lot about parenting or just like postpartum women's health or even pregnancy or trying to conceive. And so I may go backwards and we can talk more about like pregnancy and what we learned through that, or trying to conceive, what we learned through that, and a little bit more about like functional medicine side and the hormone side that comes with that. But yeah, if other people find this helpful, that's how the word gets out, is if you can tell them, and then we can keep doing this.
Yeah. All fun stuff.
Yes. So we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Now.
Bye.